All right, yeah, so I think the best way to get started here, since we're trying to do an install video here, right? Yeah. So we'll go with the tools that we need for this. Not too many, but there are a couple that we need. Then we'll go into the hardware, the components that come with the model, specifically for the late model JK without the sub. And then we'll go from there over to identify all of the panels and parts and everything that, that we're gonna install. Okay, so with the tools, need a couple of wrenches. We've got a 7/8 wrench, a 3/4 wrench, an 18mm, and we're specifically going to use this on the Jeep to remove the rear seat bolts, and we'll get into that a little more later. An 11mm wrench, a couple of sockets here. So we have the 11mm, hard to see those. And then we've got a couple of Allen wrenches, or I guess they're called hex keys, and a star wrench, regular cross tip Phillips head screwdriver, and then any kind of rubber mallet. This one looks really big and fancy. From Bryan Motorsports, you don't have to have one quite like this. You can always pick one up over at Harbor Freight or somewhere cheap. Okay, so all of the hardware is gonna come in a 4x4 box inside the larger box. So you only get one big package. It'd be about 100 pounds plus or minus when you get it. And so we'll kind of go over the hardware with what you have. We have our 1.5" hex bolts with the appropriate washers and the nylock nuts. Interesting thing about the nylock nuts, once you put them in place, they never back off. That's why we use the nylock for that. If you want to get in a little closer here, these are decorative head bolts, sometimes referred to as sex bolts. I did not pick that name. And then the respective mating caps. And let me get these black gloves out of the way so you can kind of see them fit together. And they have a 5mm on the mating cap side and a 4mm Allen wrench required for the bolt side. Moving on over here, for the JK, we actually have 4 of these. For the JLs, we only have 2 of these. And we call these the butterfly bracket for one simple reason. They have a butterfly on the edge. So you'll see how this goes together as we assemble the product. And this is used to secure the product to the side of the vehicle. So we have 4 of these. Then you have some simple lever latches. This is one of the last things that we'll actually put into place. Very simple lever latches here. Kind of go back some 90-degree brackets. And then we've actually just taken 90-degree brackets and bent them so that we now make 110-degree brackets. And you'll see where these are important kind of as we go along. Moving on back here, in this case, since we don't have a subwoofer, you have 2 regular old cam locks. We'll help you see how to get these installed. They're pretty simple instructions. This is a product that we make in-house. This actually secures the product with the seat bolts, and we'll show you how that works. And then we come over to the smaller bag here, and we'll open this up. And you see we've got some very short bolts. You'll generally have 21, 23, 26 of these, depending on the model you have. These are our pivot pins. Note that they're a socket cap screw with a spacer on it. And we'll show you where those install later. So you should have all of those. And then on the other hand, you have the number 6 screws. We also refer to these as the long screw. And then you have some star bit construction screws, and we'll show you where those go. All right, and would you like to go over to the side and I can kind of show you the pieces? All right, so this is referred to as the center leaf. And let's take this out if you'd like to see the logo we've got here. So we note on this side we've got, with this model he ordered the aircraft rails for it, and we'll show how the attachments attach to the aircraft rails once we get it all assembled. And on this specific model, the customer's got a logo 672 Brew routed right into the middle of it. So it's perfectly centered and aligned. It looks pretty good. And then over here, we have the front leaf mount brackets. And so this was what's going to hold the front, the part that goes right behind the rear seat of the vehicle. Will hold that in place. So we've got a nice little cradle there for that. You have what's referred to as the right cap and the left cap, and we'll show you where those go in place. And then the rails that hold the center leaf in place. For the left cap and the right cap, We also have the respective roll caps. So the right roll cap, you can kind of see down here, there's an RC for right cap and then an RR for right roll cap. And this will actually eventually go in place just like that. Moving on down here, we've got the front leaf. And this particular one is already pre-cut with holes for the molly panels to install. So it's countersunk on one side, and then you just got the holes on the other side. Right here we have the right base and the left base. Note on the inside of the product or on the back side, you'll see an LB that's routed in, carved into the actual product itself. On this side, of course, this is the showing side, so you're not going to see the RB on this one, but this is your right base and your left base here. You have your back left corner and your back right corner, complete with doors. This is where the cam locks will mount up once we get to that. And let me pull this out so you kind of see what they are. Note the BRC for the back right corner, and this one will then of course have the BLC for back left corner. There's a bracket that will affix with the number 6 screws as such. And it fixes just like that, and that will be on the inside of the vehicle, so you won't see these once it's all mounted up. And you have the same thing for this other side. Now, these rails ultimately will mount up somewhat like this on both the left and the right. So we actually have some spacers in here. We've got about, I think it's 38 or 43 for this specific product, spacers that mount the molly panels. Kind of what these look like, just a small spacer. All right, and then of course we have the molly panels, special cut for each product.
So what is the use for the molly panels?
So the molly panels are for attaching bags, any kind of gear. You can hang your flashlight on it, and we'll show you that once we get everything kind of mounted up. We brought a couple of extra bags we can mount in here and show you how that works. So the front leaf panel, we've also got some slots cut in the middle, and some of the newer side panels will also have slots cut in the middle. So we cut these at, the measurement is 0.27. We wanted to be able to get a carriage bolt in there so that you could hard mount something like a mount for a fire extinguisher or something of that nature. So you can put the cloth bags, the military style bags that maybe you see the Army guys with their Marines with their body armor on, things like that. But you can also put hook tools and things that need a little harder mount. You've got a slot for that that is also adjustable.
All right, Tyler, so what's the first step next?
I think the first step we're going to go into is pre-assembling, and we'll start with the left and right base. We'll assemble the rails, and then we'll assemble the molly panel to that, and then we'll do some pre-fitment for the rest of this.
Let's get to it.
Let's get this rail up here ready, make sure it lines up correctly. Okay, and I've got another rail for the bottom here. So the important thing about this, as we put this together, you want the flat spot of the rails to the top of the base product. The top of the base product can be identified with a pivot pin bracket pre-installed right here in the, in this case, the upper left-hand corner as you look at it.
And also the side that's cut will be on the bottom, right?
Right.
So that's the easier way.
Yep, and you can kind of see on the back side, if it says RB, or LB, or there's any carving like this on the back side, that's the inside of the product. You don't really want to mount to that. Okay. And then you'll notice that this bracket is pre-installed on the front side of the product. So when you look at it from the back here, and I'll flip it around so you can see, when you look at this from the back, you can see it's got the grooves and all that stuff. You shouldn't be seeing the grooves as the product is installed. So we're going to install these rails right here on the front side. And these rails will only fit one way. So for each rail, there should be, let's open that up and dump some of the washers out there. There we go, we'll start with that. And so what I'm gonna do is install the rail, or install the bolt into the rail here. And we're gonna go all the way to the very top set of holes. There are 3 holes here, and they should match to the very top 3 holes along the rail here. And then let's get one more, if you can throw a washer on that. So it should be bolt, washer, rail, and then the base unit. Now we're going to turn this around so you can see it, but you notice the flat spot is right on the top here, and that's important to get it like that, because it will fit the other direction upside down. That's not going to help you in the long run. So make sure the flat spot is on the top. We'll spin this around so you can see. And let's go ahead and put washers on each of these, and then a nylock nut. And just tighten the nylock nut as hand tight as as it will go. Just want them to hold into place. And with these, we're going to use a ratchet on one side, and then just a wrench or a box end or open end wrench on the back side. I like to use the box end wrench so that you just kind of hold that in place, and a thin walled ratchet is usually best for this application. This one kind of works because it's, and there's no need to over tighten this. Just get it nice and snug and you should be good to go there. And the nylock nuts will prevent it from backing out on you. There we go. I think we're good there. So the same thing on the bottom, and note when we mount the bottom up, let's grab 3 bolts here with washers. These are going to go all on the very bottom, and the flat spot again is going to go to the top. So we'll pre-insert these bolts here, and if you could just hold that one in place, and the very bottom 3 holes here towards the back. You have a small mounting hole here, and then there's a front hole here. You're looking at, the 3 lowest and kind of furthest back that direction. And we mount up perfect to each one of those. And then the same thing, we get a washer and a bolt on each of the back sides here. So if you'll notice, I'll show you on the back side before we tighten this, flip it upside down. You notice this hole kind of mounts up on an edge, and I had a customer a while ago kind of call me in a panic and said, oh my goodness, it's not flat or straight. That's not really a big deal. It won't hurt anything. This goes all the way down against your carpet. But notice, we've just got it snug and in place there, and that will hold for as long as we need it to.
So you don't really have to tighten it real tight. So probably not recommended to use the impact drill on them either.
Yeah, in fact, we rarely use any power tools at all as we're putting this together. It just doesn't require that.
Just take your time and do it right.
Okay, and so we're good there. And then we've got one last one, so we're going to flip this back around the other side here. And so the whole idea behind this is now the center leaf can sit on the top, and on most models it can go down and sit on the bottom rail as well.
So that's why the flat side goes to the top.
That's why the flat side goes up. And then the same for the front leaf. This product, this side part of the product actually holds the front leaf in place. So you see you've got 2 conical pre-drills here, countersinks. We just want to go right behind those. And I like to do one at a time on this one because it does push down just a little bit. Okay. And if you can give me a bolt and a washer there. And this one also holds 3. So just to get that started, note I got the bolt and the washer there. Might have to lift this up just a hair. Okay, it's good. It's perfectly in place now. All right, and all I'm going to do now is just tighten these up. Okay. Now we're looking good on this unit. If you don't have molly panels, you're actually going to go put this in place as it is. In this case, this unit does have molly panels, and you see the pre-drilled holes for all of that. And we've also got some hardware that we got to put on the sides as well.
So should we go ahead with the molly panel since we already got this one up here?
I think so, yeah. All right. So this is the molly panel that we're gonna put this on.
And that gets these spacers, right?
Yes, it does get these spacers.
And
we're just gonna dump all of these bolts out here and the mating caps. And what we want to do, this part can get a little tedious. Grab a mating cap per bolt. Mating cap goes through here, And sometimes you just got to give it a little push. If you have any issues with it, get it off of the table or off of the squad box here, and you can just give that a whack with the hammer. We don't necessarily need to in this case because it's seated all the way down, but
Hammer.
Yep, and just give that a little tap. And you'll notice on this end there's just a little bit of a ridge here, a bit of a lip. What we like to do is take the cleanest side of the plastic spacers and put them on there and just give them a little bit of a twist. Run them all the way flat. So you see how that holds that spacer in place real neat.
Yes, sir.
So if you want to help me get started with that, we'll just start putting these on, and everywhere you see a hole there, it's got to have a...
And as you can tell, it's always easier if you have a helping hand. So if you can have a buddy help you out, I mean, it's always best. Of course, it'll save you some time too.
You know, for the cost of a pizza and maybe a beer or a soda or something like that, you know, it's definitely worth it.
Everybody likes pizza and beer, so.
Okay, so now we've got this set up. We want to set this aside for just a moment, and we're just going to flip it down here so that the parts aren't tempted to fall off on us. And we're going to take the long bolts here, push them in, and there's just a little bit of a press fit for this. So you can do this one of two ways. You can use the mallet. If you'll hand the mallet over here, I'll show you. This is a pretty nice, again, rubber mallet. You don't want to use a hard hammer on it or anything like that because you just end up marring up the surface. Yeah. This will generally not do that. So you grab this from the opposite side and just start giving that a tap. See how that sinks right in place there?
Yeah.
The other thing you can do is we can grab one of these and just kind of pre-thread it on this side. If you have any issues at all with alignment or whatever, just grab that and just give it a little bit of a pull and a twist. And so we put all of these in
I think most people is going to use a rubber mallet.
Yeah.
So that was one right in. So.
Yeah. So, and it's like this, it's a tight fit by design. So we want it to hold everything in place nice and snug. Get a little bit of lean here so I got something pushing against the bottom. And so if you'll notice on this one, it's not pushed all the way in. You think you're good, but it's off and the angle is off, and that's going to cause you a little bit of headache on the back side, especially right here in the middle of the product there. So we'll put a little extra attention to that, a little pressure, make sure that
so you just want to make sure they're in the hole and they're sitting flush.
And they're seated, yep, properly seated. All right, so let's lay this down on the back side here. And if you look directly at some of these holes, you see that they're just not lined up perfectly. The more you can get them lined up, the better off they are. All right, and so we'll grab this, flip this around, and you see how they just line up just on top of that. And so if you've got an Allen wrench here, the 5mm, we'll start with that. And really all we need to do is just get one or two in place. So, and then do you have the 4mm?
Yes, sir.
So we're gonna use the 4mm on the back, the 5mm on the front, and we're just gonna get this to thread up on the inside there. Sometimes it can be a little difficult to reach, but that one looks like it's got it. So you notice on the back side here, everything kind of popped off out of whack.
Here we swap sides.
Yeah. And so what we want to do, yep, just line everything back up as is, and we'll just grab another one. We'll do the opposing corner. So we started up here, we're going to go back down here, and we're just going to get one of these started to just kind of hold everything in place. Now note, I'm not really wrenching down on this real tight. I'm getting it so that the bolts seat real well, you know, seat deep enough. And then before we tighten anything down significantly, I want to go through and go right back to the middle here Make sure that we don't have any issues with that. Yeah, and so that one's not liking it, so it's not wanting to grab. There we go. Just got to kind of move it around a little bit until you can get a thread. And if for some reason this one caught the thread, no problem. But in the case it doesn't, then just back off somewhere else and see if you can get them to match up a little better. All the holes are precision cut, so they're gonna work. You just may have to work with it and kind of find the threads on that. Yeah, see, this one's taking a minute to get hold, and it finally made it. And then I'm just going to go around. I see, you know, we've got a whole lot of space. There's a great big gap over here.
Yeah.
So we're going to go to this one. Just start giving that a spin to get it lined up a little better. See what else is holding it out.
So really you want to work your corners and make sure you get your center and just make sure all your corners are down.
Yeah, and the main thing, like, you don't want to, you know, really start wrenching down on one spot when another spot is physically blocked, and you end up bending the product. This plastic, it's not going to hurt it to bend it. It's all going to fold back into place. But for the most part, you kind of want to, you know, get everything to tighten down near the same. It doesn't have to be all, you know, perfectly symmetrical and simultaneous. But to just get everything to initially seat, there we go. See how that kind of dropped in? Okay. So now when I start getting ready to tighten these down, again, you just have to make them snug. So I had a question not too long ago about using power tools for this. Power tools aren't really all that great for getting threads started.
No, they really are not good for Allen bolts either, because you strip out an Allen bolt, then you just got bigger issues.
Yeah. So we don't recommend power tools really for anything on here. With one exception, if you have to pre-drill a hole, you know, should you have any kind of issues at all, and we'll kind of go over that a little bit later. But yeah, for the most part, just no power tools are necessary for this. Okay, split back just a little bit here.
And also for all you Jeep guys, no power tools means you get to hide in the garage longer.
It's a fact. Back this one, this way. Okay, I think we're good. Flip this around so you kind of see it. See it from this angle, and then we'll set that aside. Kind of see it from the back angle. Note they've all seated in real nice and snug. So with these locked onto the front, this panel, regardless of what you hang on or whatever, this panel isn't going anywhere. This will just will not separate from the base unit. All right, so we've got another base unit to do, but I think we go ahead and start looking at the left and the right caps and just see how these really fit together.
Yeah, that'll work.
Actually, I'm sorry, I forgot one item here. I think it will be good if we go ahead and install these. So these latches will go in the corner here. We can put them on sooner or later. We may as well go ahead and put them on here. And you note the holes all kind of line up. For these, we have a little bag of screws here. These little 1/2-inch wood screws and just a screwdriver. And so what we want to do is go ahead and put these in. Okay, so, and I'll put this other one on over here. So for some of my more advanced mechanically inclined customers, like, man, why would I use a screwdriver on that when I can use a power drill? Yes, you can use a power drill. However, if you strip this out, not a problem. You can go ahead and drill the hole all the way through and put any kind of bolt on that you want and hold these right in place. Just make sure it's a nice, low surface kind of machine screw, something like that. I do have some, like I said, some more advanced, if you will, guys that, they call me, hey man, so I stripped that thing out. Is it all right if I put a bolt on that? Yeah, you can just put a bolt in it. It's a harder lock, so. All right, I think we're good.
Right. Where do you want to set this at?
So let's just set this over here off to the side. because we're actually going to reach this here in a few
We're doing,
minutes. Perfect.
Once again, they're labeled right cap, right roll.
Yep. Now, we'll show you real quick how this is going to assemble once it's on the vehicle. We'll give you a little preview. This is perfectly fitted so that it goes right in here like this. And we have some a little bit shorter bolts we'll get into. We'll grab those in just a few minutes. They're in a different package. So it just holds these things together. And then you can see it all lines up just right here. And that gives a nice solid mount between the backside, behind the roll bar, and everything in front of the roll bar. Okay, so we've got a couple of shorter decorative head bolts that go on here, and they will hold those together once it's put together. So that we don't get it confused, we'll just keep these separate from the rest of them here. And so right now, we want to mount our butterfly brackets. So what we want to do is make sure that, open this up, and you kind of see here, we're just going to twist it so that this is in the most extended position. And as you twist it, see how it just kind of pulls right back into place? So we want to mount this with the butterfly to the back. And then as it folds down, you kind of see how it extends over the side there. And so we're going to put this in place here. You see it's got the 3 holes, and the 3 holes line up with the pre-drilled holes here.
So this way?
Yep, that's exactly. And drill. Okay. And all we want on this, again, is just snug. Not snug plus 3/4 of a turn. just snug. Okay, so now we've got some angle brackets to install. You note we've got a pre-cut space over here. Put this angle bracket in place. Should slide right in. And then we've just got an empty hole here that does not have the pre-cut slot. So we're going to put one there, and then this 110-degree bracket, we're going to mount that one up over on this side.
So 2 90s over here and the 110 over here.
Yep, right down at the end. Yeah. I'll put this in place. There we go. All right, and with this one, we just want to line this up so that it's kind of perpendicular with, or however you look at it, the lengthwise perpendicular with the edge of the product. And then with that, we've got everything in place here. What we want to do is do a quick pre-fit for all the components.
Okay.
So let's grab the back right corner, and that's the door, the one with the door on it. And then I will grab this one. And so I think it's probably best, let's pull this off to the side for just a minute. Run this over some. A couple of components here to look at. You have the tongue side up here, and there's a groove right down here. Obviously they'll fit together. This has a special cutout down on the right cap or the left cap respectively. And we just want to make sure that we go over the top of this bracket, underneath this one, and make sure that everything lines up, and just drop it in place right here. We're going to flip this up and around. So all this was pre-fitted in the shop. So they will go, just may have to give it a little bit of love tap here. Okay, hold that in place, and we're going to start up on this corner. Make sure we get everything lined up right. If you hold that in place for a second, I'm going to grab our mallet, and we're going to start with just a little bit of tap on this side. See how that slides right down into place?
Yep.
And then just gently work your way back. Okay, so something is going on back here. Make sure we're all lined up right. There you go. See everything slide right down into place.
And like you said, you can get a rubber mallet from Harbor Freight for less than $10.
Yeah. And then what we're going to do while this is in place, I'm going to grab and flip it all the way around here. and just set it down on the top. Notice that to keep from scarring up the surface of the product and everything, I've got a nice, just an old beach towel that I keep in the Jeep.
Yeah.
Doesn't have any metal flakes or anything like that. Anything that's gonna do a lot of scratching. And then we're gonna grab the back right corner, and you'll see this goes in a slot right up here. And on the side, so we can put it in the side, slide that down into place. Just to look at I want you to look at the bottom here. Let's pull this around so you can see on the camera. Note how all that lines up kind of smooth, just a little bit of a ridge there, so that shouldn't be a problem. The other thing I'll show you before we finish assembly on this, we've got some pre-drill holes on here. Let's go around this way. So you notice you've got these countersunk holes on the inside. We're actually going to use our Starbit construction screws in there, and you see there's a little hole here that's already pre-drilled for that. And we do that once we mount everything up in the shop before we send it pack the product up and send it to the customer. We assemble it all in place like this, and then we hand drill those specific two holes to make sure that everything lines up just perfectly. So if it doesn't line up, you shouldn't have to drill your own holes.
Yeah.
If you, for some unknown reason, you take a look at this and this has absolutely no holes in it, you got us. We must have missed that one. But if you see holes here, they should line up, and you shouldn't have to be drilling your own. Okay, so this is our pre-assembly. Probably be a good idea to go ahead and put our install our cam locks in here. That way we've got it, it's out of the way, and then we've got a little bit of pre-assembly on this one to go. Okay, so when we open these up, we want to make sure that we've got our components plus the keys. You'll notice on these keys, these have a number to them. This is RS 001, right? So all the keys for these, as we open up the second bag over here, the key for this one should also be an RS 001. So we try to match them up so that you have 4 keys, all of them the exact same key that open both sides.
So I always put a key up and keep it safe, just in case you lose something.
That's right. Put one away on that spare set of keys off the side. Maybe throw it in your safe at the house or whatnot. So the first thing we'll do is we'll get this lined up, and for this we're going to need that 7/8 wrench. Okay. So I like to put the keys in the cam lock so that it's just easier to hold it steady. We're just going to drop this into place here. And I don't usually use a face to this. They come available, they come with a face. You can see the little metal ring, the black ring there. If you want to pull that over here so we just can show it. You can put the little black ring in there. I just find it's more of a pain to do it that way. I run without the black ring at all. I like the nice clean look that it's got
That's
here.
kind of a clean, simple look right there.
Yeah. And then we come over to the back side. So as we install this, and the instructions show pretty clear what the order is. You see the teeth in here, and you've got a flat spot on the left and right of the actual cam shaft itself. And we're just going to give that a little push so that it bites into that plastic just a little bit. Yeah, one side, got the other. Okay, so that's not super secure, but that's going to hold it long enough for us. Next thing we want to do is grab the ring, the outer ring there, and it should be a threaded bolt. There we go. And so we're going to put this on, run this down, and this is where having the key actually kind of helps hold everything in place here. You grab this and just give this a little bit of a turn, not much. Run it about another half a turn. Okay, we'll hold it right there. So that just kind of holds everything in place like that. So you've got 2 options here for your for the back side. You have a halfway, a 180-degree turn and then a 90-degree turn. I always go with 180 degrees. That just gives you a little more option. And so you'll mount this on here, and how you mount this dictates which direction you're going to turn it. So you notice we set it like this on this side. I can flip it all the way around the other way, and instead of that key turning right now, it has to turn to the left.
Okay.
Right? So it doesn't matter which one you pick, just kind of pick one. And then just give that a nice snug grip all the way down. So that's not coming loose. So now you're good there. And just to make sure that you're tight enough here, you can always take this and hold the lever here, and just give that as many turns as you need to make sure it's safe and secure in there. There's no need to over tighten that. Just get it just like that. You see, I'm not getting a whole lot of leverage out here. I'm not using the outside of the wrench. I'm just using the inside. And that holds it in place. On occasion, if you tighten it a little too much, it makes this a little stiff to turn. So with that, we're gonna put that in place and just throw the keys out of the way for a second. So for this, we use these long number 6 screws. And note, you've got quite a bit of a countersink in there. So you can set your screw all the way down to the bottom there and just make sure it matches up in the hole to get this first one started. Just start running that in until you kind of feel it bottom out. You don't have to tighten it just yet. Okay, so we're going to get these number 6 screws, set them in the back here, and you kind of notice these fall all the way down. Just tighten them down snug. Don't have to be terribly gripped in. And now this just kind of frames this out, and then as we grab a key here, set this up. There you go. Now you see, as you put just a little bit of pressure on that, it's got something to hold against that. All right, so we've got a couple of more things we want to mount in here, and then the back right corner. Let's go ahead and put that in place. And so sometimes, this is where sometimes might run into problems. If this hole doesn't mount up just right for you, there's a couple of things you can do. We can pull this off. So you notice there's just a little bit of a gap there. That's not a problem. Just give that a little bit of a squeeze and bend that bracket right back into place there. And make sure that everything seats well. And then if we still don't like that, we can do our own pre-drill. I brought a drill and I'll give an example of that. But it looks like this one's going to mount up just fine. So that holds a little bit low there. So you see how that just goes right into place there. And like I said, sometimes if it's not wanting to line up just right or anything, we can grab a drill and just, you know, put a piece of tape on it to mark the depth that we drill, and we can just, you know, do a different pre-drill to get it to line up a little better if we don't like what we got. In this case, I think we're looking pretty good. And we will grab a couple of these. Note we've got a spot right here. To hold that into place. Everything cinches down, and then we're going to flip this around so that you can see the other side. And you'll note over here, this one, get that up out of the way. Should go right into place there.
All right,
there we go.
On this side? Or?
Yep. No, we're good on this side. Right now, what we want to do is get our construction bits. If you've got the star bit, just go ahead and run this down into place.
Ratchet.
There we go. This is where it's really best to have an assistant, somebody to help you out. So we're going to move over to the vehicle here, and we're going to go ahead and mount this up. Let's get this open because we'll need access to the inside. And even when you assemble on the you know, the back of the truck or the back of the Jeep itself, it's best to do the pre-assembly out here. Just to make sure that everything fits all together, and that'll alleviate a lot of frustrations when you're trying to make screws fit in holes when you can't really see it because it's all on the inside. So everything's nice and in place. So let's go ahead and move over to the vehicle. So what we've got to do, first we're going to install the mounting brackets for the seat bolts. We want to remove any of the mats and carpeting and everything we have. One of the most common questions I get is, am I going to be able to keep my mat? Most of these, yes, absolutely. You might have a little bit of flip up on the edges here. We'll take a look at that once we get to it. But for now, we just want to get this over out of the way. And so for this, we're going to remove these bolts, the 3/4 inch bolts, or sorry, 18 millimeter bolts, just on the outsides. And this is the product that we're going to mount. You see these are the anodized versions of them. We're going to put these in place both left and right. And there's a way to put them on here and a way not to put them. Okay, so the way we want to do this, we want to put these tabs back and to the outside of the vehicle, but perpendicular. So it goes just like this. It does not go like this, nor does it go like this. And there's a reason we kind of do that. And you'll notice that you've got a little bit of carpet and everything. And what you might want to do is just slip underneath that just a little bit, set that in place, and just put that hand tight. We may need to move these or adjust them a little bit later. That's why we've got the big slot there to make sure that everything gets into place properly. Okay, so we put these in place. In this case, just so to make it easier to show how we mount these up, let's take this off here real quick. And we're actually going to mount it up on this side first, on the box itself. Okay, so what we can do, you can run the mating cap here on the outside of the tab. We're going to mount this up here, push this in the hole. Once we get that set into place, got a little bit of an angle so that the camera can see it. Let's get this on the other side here. And if you will give me the 5 millimeter.
5 millimeter right there.
A little bit of grip on the other side, and then the 4 millimeter here. We'll just kind of mount that up. Doesn't need to be super tight because we want to be able to move this. So I probably over tighten it just a hair. And what we'll do is put this in place once we get it over on the other side of the rail. Two considerations here. One is the fitment of the roll cap, and the other is to make sure that we actually get on the bottom side on our seat bolt over here, all kind of at the same time. So it's really best to have two bolts. I will give this to you and let you put that into place. Hopefully not knock this off.
Put your caps in there before, just to make it easier.
Yep. And so I'm just going to set this up generally over in this area, set it right over the hole. All right, so now we're once this high. Let's go ahead and I want you to install this. It will really only fit one direction. Good. And so even if you over tighten these, they'll bottom out in the actual bolt itself before you do anything to any of the plastic. You don't have to worry about any of that stuff. Now, you notice we've got a tab right here. There's a space on the factory component here on the other side of this hole that you want this to fit into. And then you notice you've also got, we've left some of the manufacturing tabs on here. We cut them like this on purpose. And that just gives you a little bit of a guide to help you get that up underneath the lip of the vehicle. So we're going to angle this up, make sure this gets over into place. Once that slips in there, then we start bringing everything back down. And you'll see on the end here, see we've got some, and if it broke one of those tabs off, that's fine. They're just manufacturing tabs. See how that kind of goes into place? And then so We want to pull everything in nice and snug. And then we're going to reach on the inside and we're going to grab those butterfly brackets. And make sure they are out and open. You're going to reach up, hook them on that, and then as you tighten it, it's going to pull it in. So you want to do both of them. Probably do this one in the back first and then the one in the front. Okay, and then we just want to make sure that it's seated nice and snug. Okay, so once you've got this in and installed, here we want to put this. There is a pre-drill hole on the inside of that. Find it, there we go. And then we just run this in place, and this locks everything down nice and snug. And then the last thing we want to do is grab the 4mm and 5mm Allen wrenches. And that holds it all right in place.
So that's the bottom hex head bolts on the bottom.
Yep. And then you're good to go on this side and there. All right. So if you're ready, let's go to the other side. Okay, so as we're finishing up the last touches, we pre-assembled the left side just like we did the right side with all of the right components and everything, but we didn't fit them together. In this case, we want to fit them together on the vehicle. So that is a second method, if you will, of installing, and we'll kind of show you how that works, some of the pros and the cons. The cons on pre-assembling the entire box and installing it on here, it does make it very difficult on the bottom here to tighten up the decorative head bolt, to the seat bolt bracket. This kind of alleviates that. It gives us enough room to work in behind there, but then we've got to get this installed, and it can be a little tricky. Hey, let's get started with this. What I want to do first, let's lift this up. We're just going to set this generally in place, and I want to run this back so that I can take my decorative head bolt here. Pull the seat belt here out of the way, and we'll just kind of fit this from the back side and then put the mating cap on the front side. Okay, so we're not going to tighten that down too much. We're just going to get it a little bit snug, but so that we have the room to maneuver. Let's just hold that in place. Let's go ahead and grab the cap here. So slide this over the top. And let's just kind of hold this in place here. We don't have to lock it down just yet, but let's hold it in place and then hand me the roll cap. Now in this case, before we do anything else, I'm going to grab the two connectors here and just move those over out of the way. These bolts. So let's get this over into place. Now you want to make sure that the butterfly brackets are all the way opened up, and then flip them back out of the way. And so what we'll do is just kind of line this up and bring it into place here. Pull those forward, there you go, just like that. And then this should slip all the way up under. See how it's got that whole ridge there, and then it sits flush in there, so that there's no way this can come out. And in the process of this, we're going to lift this up and just slide this into place. Oh, okay, yeah, just lift over it. Just lift right over the top of that. So, okay, watch your fingers. Yep, see how one goes in front, one goes behind. There you go. Well, that's right into place. Now, while we've got this all wide open here, I want to do a couple of things. First of all, I want to get the small black screws, so let's get 2 of those, and then the screwdriver. Yeah, and then we're going to reach in here and screw this one into place. So you know we're still not locked in on the side here. We haven't addressed that at all. Before we do that, we want to go ahead and put this into place. Now, if there's anything in here that we need to adjust, make any adjustments on the inside, we can do that while it's all wide open. Otherwise, it looks like we're in good shape here. So you just kind of have to angle this in, and it's a tight fit. So you just have to work with it a little bit, make sure the seat belt's fully out of the way and that the tongue and grooves are all lining up. We're going to open that so we can reach in here. And this one is kind of a tight fit. So there we go. See, I've got this side lined up first, and now you'll notice over on this side, this doesn't want to go back up under there. So you're just going to have to give that a little bit of lift, maybe get your fingers out of the way. And at the last minute, you see how it just kind of pops in there. With the carpet and everything in place, it makes it a real nice snug fit. And then this goes all the way up against the top here, so that if you're looking at this, shouldn't have too much of a gap up here. This needs to come in clean. And so since we pre-drilled and pre-fitted our holes, as you put the star bits in this side, you can go ahead and put one in there. If it doesn't go directly into a hole, then it's not lined up properly. Now, by the time you get to this point, if it's not lined up properly, it'll start pushing these 2 panels apart. This the back left corner and the left base. It'll start, to kind of work them apart. So we know we've got a good clean fit here.
Go ahead and snug those down, or get that last screw.
Good. So we're going to get the last screw in first, and for that, you're working in the dark here. So we're going to take this screw, and this is why we pre-assemble the box over here to make sure that all the screws fit in nice and easy and snug. So what we want to do is set this up, and it's got to go in here, and you're screwing from back to front in the vehicle. So you're screwing kind of towards you. So the way I like to do that is all just kind of one-handed. Get it lined up, find the hole, and then just reach both hands in, and there's a little bit of an arc to that. Now the last thing we really need to do on this side, and I can do it while you're doing these, is reach into the butterfly brackets on the inside, make sure they're extended all the way. I like to start with the back here and make sure that it catches on the lip of the inside of the rail here. Hold it up into place while you rotate it. And if you need to, you can apply just a little bit of pressure as it squeezes everything in place. Now, in his case, before we do that, we want to make sure that our holes here stay lined up for his hardtop. So I just used my finger to pull that in there. Okay. What we were doing on the other side, just drop the screwdriver in and make sure the holes are lined up, because this puts just a little bit of friction on the tabs left and right here. So we just want to make sure that it stays lined up and he can easily get his the bolts for his hardtop in there. And should this work its way out as you're driving down the road, in months, weeks, or years to come, you can always reach in and there we go, and get that to lock into place. You can always reach in here, open the butterfly brackets up and slide these around, and then just tighten them back down. No problem with that. We're good to go. The very last thing we need to do is install our 2 pivot bolts. I'll let you install it on the right side over there.
What is this one?
And this one goes right here. If you'll notice, this is all pre-threaded. Good, just make it snug. Okay, so these are actually adjustable. You can put smaller spacers on here, bring this off, put a smaller spacer if you need to sink it a little further in. It's you know, pre-cut on the backside, so there's plenty of room. Or you can actually bring longer spacers and have those come out a little further. I think this will work just fine for us. All right, so now we're going to bring the front leaf in. So what we want to do here, the best way to do this is to kind of lay it back this way, like this. Put the front into the cradle here, and then just lift it and drop it at the same time. With that, oh, we didn't open these up. Open this latch up, and you'll want to reach up and grab the H bracket right here. See how that kind of falls in there? And then you just pull it back. It should be under quite a bit of tension there.
All right.
So once you get it hooked, you just pull it back in. Right, now, good thing about this, so this is in here and it's pretty solid. Let's open that up. Yeah, it's under quite a bit of tension. Let's lift it straight up and then out so that you don't, you know, mess with these tabs here. You don't have any problem with that. And we're gonna pull this out, completely rotate it around, and let's just put it right back in the cradle and put it back in place. And then we can lock it in the same way. So now, if you got your bags up here with your GoPro, your winch controller, your Scooby Snacks, anything like that, your beverage of choice, sometimes that's water, you can still access all of that. And let's go ahead and put the center leaf in here. Okay, so what we're going to do is grab this side here, grab from the, yep, exactly like that. We're going to bring this out and just drop this on the rails here, and then just gently slide it back. So it's going to meet these pegs up here, but they're offset just a hair. So what you have to do is lift up on this just a little bit. You see how it slides right into place there?
Yep.
And make sure that one goes all the way back, fits into place, right? And that way it's under just a little slight bit of tension. And then you reach up underneath, put the locks in place. Okay, so now we're running a nice, smooth, clean deck across the back, and of course in this case we've got this 672 Brew logo on here. But one of the options we have with the aircraft rails, and let's grab some of these. So you can attach the aircraft rails down to the floor mounts on this with a ratchet strap, something like that, and that just gives an added amount of security in case you need that. But so we want to flip this over, and what we've decided to do is put our cooler or Yeti or whatever on top. So we pull this out, just take a little bit of step away so you're not banging into the vehicle, and flip it around and set it right back in place. For those that are wondering, this is 33 pounds plus or minus a couple of ounces, so it does have a little bit of weight to it. Slides right into place. Let's lock these down. Okay, and the way these work, so you'll see, grab it left and right, push this and make sure that this round circle here fits into the slots here, and then it slides forward or backwards half up a length, and then let it go, and this is how it locks into place. So you put one in the front and one in the back here, and you got a pretty good solid lockdown for, like I said, for your cooler. You can throw some beach blankets or whatever, net those down, or ratchet strap anything like that down. All right, any questions?
That's it for me.